Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but whenever some kind of news like this comes out, could the volcanic eruption in the Canary Islands create a giant tsunami that hits the East Coast? I usually tend to stay away from stories like this that are big like this for a while. And I haven't even watched one YouTube video that has anything to do with this, because I wanted to give it a few days to maybe think about it and to also maybe do a little research and read a few different articles. I found this article from Michael Snyder, who is a very level-headed person in my opinion, and I think that this article reads very well. And I wanted to go ahead and put this out because me personally, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I don't live on the East Coast, right? If I lived on the East Coast, maybe I would have read into this a little sooner, right? However, if something of this magnitude were to happen in the East Coast, a 360 foot or 1,000 foot high tsunami or whatever it may be, it would affect everyone in the world, really, to tell you the truth. Of course, it would affect the United States of America more so than everyone else, but it would affect everyone. So it's easy for me to sit here and say, yeah, I really take a few days to look into it and stuff like this. I don't live in the East Coast, and I can understand where people that live in the East Coast, especially in the Florida area, would pay more attention to this more quickly than I would. But I like to let everything gas out, I guess you can say, for a while whenever a big story like this, because believe it or not, in my opinion, this is a very big story, especially if the likelihood of this happening were to happen. It is a very big story, and people should read into it, and people should do their own research and then conduct themselves accordingly as to what they feel they should be doing for themselves and their families. I think that should something like this happen, there's nothing that you can do to prepare for something like this, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing that you can do is to move away from the area that could be impacted directly by something like this. So there is no preps that's going to get you out of this except for your faith and your spiritual belief. That's the only thing that would help you in a situation like this. So I wanted to go ahead and read through this article so that maybe you can get a little bit out of it, and maybe it will encourage you to do a little more research, and instead of just getting your information from videos and things like that, do your own research. Like I said, I'm not throwing any videos under the bus per se, because I haven't watched any videos on this. I did that purposefully so that I can give it a few days to look around, and this is the best that I found in order to give people pretty decent information that they can then go out and look at more things. They can broaden their horizons, or you can broaden your horizons by maybe hearing some of the information that's here, and then it could allow you to prepare in a manner that will be sufficient for you and your family. Mr. Snyder starts off by saying, for 20 years we have been warned that the eruption of a specific volcano in the Canary Islands could cause an absolute massive tsunami in the Atlantic Ocean. And now that specific volcano in the Canary Islands is violently erupting. But just because the Cumbre Vieja volcano is erupting, that does not necessarily mean that we will see a tsunami. In fact, a tsunami will only be generated if the western portion of the volcano collapses and an absolutely gigantic landslide is caused as a result. In a worst-case scenario, a chunk of real estate the size of Manhattan would detach from the island and slide into the Atlantic Ocean with extreme violence. And the ensuing tsunami would cause death and destruction on a scale that is difficult to fathom. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is the worst case scenario. Okay? Will it happen? Eventually it will happen. Alright? Eventually it will happen. Eventually California will break off of the United States. You know, like people have been talking about for at least since I've been alive. I've been hearing that, right? That California will break off the US and it will create a huge tsunami going up over to the west, to the Asian countries. Eventually that will happen, but what's the likelihood of it happening? And can you prepare for that? Let's hope that the seismic activity in the Canary Islands fizzles out without any landslides happening. Because of the last 2 decades, scientists have been warning us about what could potentially happen, and it is really, really bad. And he says here, the following comes from Wikipedia. The island of La Palma in the Canary Islands is at risk of undergoing a large landslide, which could cause a tsunami in the Atlantic Ocean. Volcanic islands and volcanoes on land frequently undergo large landslide collapses, which have been documented in Hawaii, for example. A recent example is Anak Krakatoa, which collapsed to cause the 2018 Sunda Strait tsunami, claiming hundreds of lives. Steve N. Ward and Simon Day, in a 2001 research article, proposed that the Holocene change in the eruptive activity of the Cumbre Vieja volcano and a fracture on the volcano that formed during an eruption in 1949 may be the prelude to a giant collapse. They estimated that such a collapse could cause tsunamis across the entire North Atlantic and severely impact countries as far away as North America. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember, this is the worst case scenario. I don't like it when people listen to things like this and then they start to get anxiety over it. This is a worst case scenario. However, it is good for people to be informed of what could happen. That way they can better prepare in the case that it does. And this is the events on a timeline. All right, so they took it down from 2 minutes all the way up to like 9 hours. And it says that at 2 minutes, a 900 meter or 3,000 foot thick dome of water rises above the landslide. At minute 5, the dome collapses to a height of 500 meters or 1,600 feet as it advances by 50 kilometers. Additionally, the wave valleys form. At minute 10, the landslide is now over. Waves reaching heights of 400 to 600 meters, which equate to 1,300 to 2,000 feet high, hit the 3 western Canary Islands. At 15 minutes to 60 minutes, 50 to 100 meter high waves hit Africa. A 500 kilometer wide train of waves advance across the Atlantic. Then at hours 3 to hours 6, the waves hit South America and Newfoundland, reaching heights of 15 to 20 meters and 10 meters respectively. Spain and England are particularly protected by La Palma. Thus, tsunami waves there only reach 5 to 7 meters, which is only about 20 feet. At hour 9, waves that are 20 to 25 meters, which is 65 to 80 feet or so, approach Florida. They are not expected to grow farther as they hit the coast. So when we hear about these giant tsunamis that are going to hit the East Coast, if this should happen, we have to bring it down to perspective, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of people talk, and like I said, I haven't really watched any videos, so I'm saying a lot of people talk, but I'm sure of it, all right? I'm sure of it that there's probably videos out there, people talking about 500-foot tsunamis hitting Florida and things like this, and that Florida is pretty much above sea level, just a few feet. But a lot of people say that, and in reality, the worst that can happen to the east coast of the United States are going to be waves that are 65 to roughly 80 feet high. Am I saying that that is not significant? That is very significant, ladies and gentlemen. 60-foot waves, that is extremely, extremely bad. And the thing is that many people don't think about water as being such a destructive force unless they've met that force personally. And when you think about it, water is so dense that it pretty much stops a bullet. So have you ever seen a bullet being shot like into a pool? It fizzles out just a few feet after it hits the water because that's how dense water is. So a wave of 60 feet hitting the East Coast would be very significant and it would cause a lot of destruction, but not as much as a wave that's 300 or 500 feet high would. So let us certainly hope that such a scenario does not materialize. Leading up to the eruption on Sunday, the island of La Palma had been hit by about 1,000 earthquakes in a 5-day period. Scientists knew that an eruption was possible, but the violence with which the Cumbre Vieja volcano has exploded has stunned a lot of people. And I'll go ahead and finish it off with this, ladies and gentlemen. At this hour, lava flows continue to destroy homes as they head for the coast. About 1,000 island residents have already been evacuated, and it is being reported that 10,000 more may soon need to be evacuated. If nothing more comes of this disaster, we should be very thankful. But if the worst case scenario does materialize, those of you that are living on the East Coast will only have about 9 hours to evacuate before a giant tsunami hits. And again, by a giant tsunami, he's talking about a 60-foot tsunami, which is a giant tsunami. I'm not taking anything away from that. 60-foot tsunami would be very, very devastating. But the key thing here is that you would have 9 hours to evacuate. So if you do live in the East Coast or in areas in the East Coast that are close to the coastline, then maybe this is something that you should consider. That you would have about a 9-hour window or so in order to be able to evacuate that area. So what should you do, ladies and gentlemen? If you live in the East Coast, what should you do? Keep abreast of the situation. Maybe track it a little more than most people. That way, if something does happen where this does turn into a worst case scenario, you will have more time than others. Make sure that you have your bug out bags or your to-go bags already packed in your vehicles. Make sure that you have some extra gasoline cans ready to go. Make sure that you have a place to go. That way, as soon as you find out, because you are in the know, you will be ahead of the crowd and you won't get stuck in gridlock. That is what I would say, ladies and gentlemen, is the best thing that you can do to prepare for this, because anything can happen, of course. More than likely, this will probably not happen. I truly hope to God it doesn't happen. But just in case, have those basic preparations. Of course, in my opinion, you should have plenty of food packed up in your vehicle or ready to put it in your vehicle if you do have to evacuate. Water, fuel, of course. And ladies and gentlemen, some self-defense, in my opinion, would be very helpful as well. All right, so I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that a lot of you are not panicking over this. Instead, that you are, taking a step back and taking a look at it from the outside instead of engulfing yourself into the story of what could be. All right, anything could be, ladies and gentlemen, but how we prepare and how we conduct ourselves before it actually happens is really what's going to allow us to survive the situation and get through it the best that we can. Having said that, I hope that you have a great day today. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.